The sound of the propellers cuts through the air, sharp as a knife rapid landing in tactical formation. Sand-flying engines running, Commander Elias Navarro gives the signal. The shadow unit springs into action. 12 men all dressed in black, modern weapons, timed movements. The mission was simple reconnaissance in hostile territory, quick extraction, nothing out of the ordinary, but then something changes a light. Not like a flash, not like an explosion, a vibrant, living light that pulsates in the air as if time itself were melting, and then total silence, a void that absorbs even thoughts. When the operators wake up, everything is different. The sky is the same, the sand still burns underfoot, but something doesn't add up. The air smells of iron, burnt wood, horse sweat. The tracks on the ground are not from tires or tactical boots. They are wheel ruts, heavy footsteps of sandals, and in the distance, sounds are heard, not of engines, but of footsteps. Thousands of footsteps marching and voices shouting orders loudly, but not in Spanish or Arabic, in Latin. They don't know it yet, but they have just crossed a border that doesn't appear on any map. They are no longer on a mission. They are trapped in another time, and time now comes marching in close formation from the top of a rocky hill. Navarro observes with thermal binoculars, but what he sees makes no sense. There are no electronic signals or artificial heat, only human forms, hundreds, thousands of them marching with precision, without engines, without drones, without radios. And then he sees them, oval shields that move like gears, helmets that shine in the sun as if they had been polished that very morning, red crests waving in the wind, and banners, golden eagles, lions, roaring symbols of legions lost in time. Waving proudly, the ground shakes to the rhythm of sandals. The sound is hypnotic. Delgado, accustomed to ambushes in favelas, jungles, and deserts, tries to rationalize. Perhaps it is a simulation, a cult, an army of reenactors, but nothing smells like a spectacle. They are not costumes. They are not replicas. Those spears are sharp. Those men sweat. They carry the weight of a real war, not a theatrical performance. This can't be real, he murmurs. But it is. The banners are authentic. The Latin is pronounced with military intonation. The marching formation is the same as described by Tacitus Caesar. Polybius, Navarro is not a historian, but he knows what he is seeing: a Roman legion. And it is not a reenactment. It is a living armed unit ready for combat. He tries to use the radio out of reflex. Nothing. No static. No interference. Just thin emptiness. He approaches him and says, "Boss, this is Rome." Navarro doesn't respond. He just watches because at that moment, facing that impossible army, he understands they are no longer on a reconnaissance mission. Navarro descends the hill with precise, quick, silent movements. Behind him, the men of the unit take up cover positions. They are no ordinary soldiers. They are an elite take-cover positions. They are not ordinary soldiers. They are an elite unit trained for operations where error is not an option. 12 operators, each with a lethal specialization: night infiltration, infrastructure sabotage, long-range reconnaissance, elimination of high-value targets. None of them were prepared to face Rome, but they all know how to kill. Their weapons are state-of-the-art M4 rifles with holographic sights, silencers, tactical flashlights, and armor-piercing ammunition. In the hands of Santiago Rivas, the sniper, rests a Barrett .50, a weapon designed to pierce concrete at 2,000 meters, capable of blowing off a man's head with a single shot. They also carry Glock pistols, fragmentation grenades, motion sensors, and C4-shaped charges, a modern arsenal created to kill before the enemy sees where the shot came from. But something begins to weigh on Navarro's mind. All that power was designed for contemporary combat, you might say. Fast, immediate retreat, urban or jungle environments, missions with a beginning, middle, and timed end. Not for holding a position against 5,000 men armed with shields, spears, and fanaticism. They have firepower superiority, but ammunition is limited. There are no logistics. Time is against them. Weapons can destroy. Yes, but they cannot sustain a prolonged war. And that formation approaching seems designed to resist, not to surrender. Delgado approaches him uneasily and asks, "If they attack en masse, How long can we hold out? Navarro does not answer. He calculates, mentally reviewing the number of magazines, the reserves, the escape routes, but no answer seems sufficient. Technology is a sharp edge, but even the sharpest blade becomes useless if it cannot be resharpened. They come like a wave. They do not run. They do not shout. They just march with the calmness of those who believe that victory is inevitable. At the head of the formation, a man stands out in shining armor, a red cape fluttering, helmet with double plumes. It is Lucius Aurelius Gracchus, general of the legion, heir to a line of commanders who were victorious in Gaul, Judea, and Pannonia. At his side is Tiberius Maximus, veteran military advisor and campaign veteran in the East. Both analyze the terrain with trained eyes and show no fear. The cohorts advance in close formation, 3 compact lines of infantry. The men in the front line carry curved scutum shields connected to each other in a wall of leather and metal. Each shield covers half of the soldier's body beside him. Behind them, the Astatus prepare their pilas, heavy spears designed to bend on impact, rendering both the enemy's shield and the arm that holds it useless. A simple, cruel, and brilliant weapon. Then come the gladius, lethal short swords created to kill at close range with quick, sharp, decisive blows. The legionnaires' foreheads glisten with sweat. Their eyes do not waver. The centurions walk among the ranks, shouting orders in trained voices to impose order on the chaos of the battlefield. They are recognizable by the horizontal crests on their helmets, a sign of authority. Each shout is followed by a synchronized movement. Discipline is absolute. The cadence of the march is absolute. The cadence of the march is guided by drums and the pounding of sandals against the ground. Banners rise above the crowd. Golden eagles, bulls, lions, each representing a legion. Each symbol carries with it stories of victories, sieges, massacres. They are not there by chance. They are there as a statement, as if the empire itself had decided to respond to the presence of these strange men with invisible weapons and an unknown language. From the top of the hill, Navarro observes, the operators at his side are ready but silent because what they see is not just an army. It is the result of centuries of military perfection, of the doctrine of terror. The time for observation is over. The legion has entered ranking. Navarro gives the order with a brief gesture. Santiago Rivas is already in position, breathing steadily, his finger steady on the trigger of the barrette. He adjusts the sights with millimeter precision. The target is a centurion coordinating the first row's helmet with a side crest, ornate armor. A symbol of command, the shot echoes through the valley like thunder. The sound breaks the tension like an axe. A second later, the centurion's head disappears in a cloud of blood and bones. Silence, the ranks hesitate for a fraction of a second. The men retreat, look around in panic, not knowing what hit them, never having seen gunpowder, never having heard a shot, not understanding what it means to die before seeing the enemy. But the hesitation is short-lived. Roman order is stronger than fear. The soldiers return to their formation and continue. Delgado gives the order. The machine guns open fire. Sharp bursts descend the hill like a storm. The bullets pierce shields, perforate armor, shatter torsos. Men fall by the dozens. The ground becomes a muddy mess of blood and dust. The screams mingle with the metallic clang of impacts. In seconds, the Roman front is destroyed. Bodies pile up, shields shattered, gladiuses scattered across the ground. But none of that stops the advance. The rear ranks fill the gaps, closing with precision. The piles rise, the march continues. It is like facing a machine made of flesh. Every death is absorbed, every casualty replaced. There is no panic, no escape, only obedience. Navarro feels a chill. What was supposed to be a containment mission has turned into a massacre, and yet they continue. The legion does not stop because Rome does not stop. The impacts continue, dry and relentless. The shots echo across the field like curses cast by gods of another time. Men fall before they even hear the sound. Heads explode, torsos split open, shields break, blood gushes like hot rain, and the Romans do not understand. The enemy is invisible, the sound is new, the pain is instantaneous. For them, this is not war, it is sorcery. In the middle ranks, a soldier kneels and crosses himself, invoking Jupiter. Another kisses the amulet hanging from his neck. A third cries out to Mars in desperation. The field before the hill is covered with bodies, a human pile, shattered shields, empty helmets, Roman weapons stuck in the ground like improvised tombstones. The shadow unit watches in silence, breathing heavily, sweat, trembling hands. Delgado changes the magazine for the third time, his fingers lacerated from pressing so hard. Rebus cleans the lens of the sight, covered with particles of bone and sand. The field is full of death, but not surrender, because the Romans do not stop. They march over the dead, trampling open chests, breaking bones, ignoring the screams. The ranks rearm with the coldness of a ritual. The space left by the fallen is filled with terrifying precision. There are no words of command, no contingency plan, only action. Navarro observes, and something inside him stirs. He recognizes that this is the same principle taught to modern elite soldiers, the 40% rule. When the body believes it has reached its limit, there is still 60% hidden in the mind, and the Romans somehow live it with a conviction that borders on fanaticism. Delgado breaks the silence and says, "These guys are not afraid of death." Navarro doesn't even turn his head to answer. His eyes follow the enemy formation with a mixture of respect and calculation as he says, "They were raised for this in the heat and blood." A new sound emerges. It's not the footsteps of men. It's the creaking of wood under tension. Ropes twisting, metal scraping, an ancient sound but not innocent. Ballistas behind the Roman infantry appear, enormous siege machines mounted on oak wheels, pulled by oxen and soldiers, each with a torsion arm powered by braided tendons and hemp ropes, operated by engineers, men in light tunics with rough hands and precise gazes. These weapons are not common catapults. They are precision ballistas designed to kill, not to knock. Rough hands and precise gaze. These weapons are not ordinary catapults. They are precision ballistas designed to kill, not to knock down walls, but to pierce bodies, hit specific targets, break formations. Their iron bolts, over a meter long, can pierce through several men lined up or perforate a wooden wall as if it were paper. Rebus sees them through the scope, adjusts the zoom, his eyes widen. Navarro instantly detects the risk. Until that moment, the advantage of the shadow unit was their range. They could attack without being hit, but that changes with the ballistas. One of the machines is positioned, the ropes are tightened, the projectile is carefully positioned like a colossal arrow. One soldier gives a signal, another turns the crank, the tension increases. Navarro reacts immediately, orders a change of position. The team leaves the top of the hill and disperses, looking for rocks, depressions in the ground, any natural cover. The technological advantage is still with them, but their invulnerability is over. And when the first shot from the ballista cuts through the air like metallic thunder and strikes the ground nearby with such force that it throws stones into the sky, everyone understands the new reality. Rome began to respond amidst the chaos. A silent trap awaits during the initial displacement. Delgado had left behind a tactical backpack, purposely forgotten on a rocky elevation, right on the line between the two armies. A bait inside a molded C4 charge with a remote detonator and proximity sensor. The shadow unit knew that the Romans were organized, methodical, and curious. And when the front line hesitates after the initial bombardment, a group of tribunes and centurions advance towards the backpack. They think it is a sacred artifact or perhaps a weapon of the enemy. They surround it, observe it, discuss it. One of them, younger, crouches down, touches the zipper, and begins to open it from the top. Delgado adjusts his aim. The detonator is in his hand. He does not hesitate. Click. The explosion is brutal, instantaneous. A column of fire rises like a fist from the gods. The impact tears off limbs, destroys shields, throws stones and bones into the air. The central banner of the Legion, its symbol of unity, is split in two. The officers who were nearby are reduced to ashes. Dust rises, screams, confusion, conflicting orders. The Roman command center has become a vacuum of power and direction. It is the first time since the beginning of the battle that the structure of the legion truly trembles without its leaders. The wall falters, some formations fall into disorder, soldiers shout names that no longer respond. Tribunes run aimlessly. For a moment, the machine jams. From the hill, the operators watch in silence. They do not celebrate. They just breathe a sigh of relief because, for the first time, Rome bled and felt it. But they know there are still thousands left. The core may be broken, but the beast still breathes. And what comes next may be even more unpredictable. The smoke from the explosion still floats in the thick, bitter air. Parts of the Roman command lie charred. The banners are on the ground. The structure of the legion has lost its nerve center, but it is not dead down there. The centurions who survived regain control. The fallen banners are raised again with trembling but determined hands. Shouts cut across the field like whips, restoring some order. The wounded, staggering legion breathes again. Above, Navarro coldly observes the weapons of the shadow unit. They are still functioning, but they are at their limit. The cannons are hot and blackened from so much firing. The operators sweat more from tension than from the heat. Delgado changes magazines with bloodied hands. Rebus has already emptied his last box of 250 rounds of ammunition and holds the backup rifle. The whole team has gone into survival mode. They have technology, but it is limited. They have a tactical advantage, but every minute reduces it. The Romans are infinite in will. They do not tire like normal men. When they die, others take their place. When they fail, they correct with blood. It is not a war between equals. It is a test of endurance between eras. Navarro knows that this terrain has already given all it could. He mentally calculates the distance to the armored vehicles, 600 meters. Extraction is still possible. He gives the order, not with fear, but with clarity. The shadow unit will abandon the hill. It is not cowardice, it is logic. There are 12 men against 5,000. There is no ammunition left to resist another wave. They descend quickly, coordinated, covering the flanks and rear. The engines roar gently as the vehicles start up, tires on dry ground, suspension, creaking weapons repositioned. No one speaks. Everyone is alert. Eyes scan the horizon, waiting for pursuit. But what appears is something completely different. In the distance, a dense cloud of dust rises, kicked up by dozens, perhaps hundreds of helmets. Rhythmic, metallic sounds. Navarro brakes instinctively. He looks in the rearview mirror. Something is coming, but it's not Romans emerging on the horizon. Is another nightmare from antiquity. Horsemen covered in lamellar armor, bodies clad in metal plates up to their eyes, long spears held steady in their hands. It is the heavy cavalry of the Parthians. The cataphracts collide with the exposed flank of the legion, like a bolt of steel without warning, mercilessly. The Roman wall, so solid, so precise, crumbles on impact. Men fly, shields break, spears pierce torsos, orders drown in dust and blood. The cataphracts do not stop. They trample, stab, crush. They are the force that Rome always feared in the east, and right behind them come the horse archers armed with recurved bows, shooting as they ride, turning their bodies pointing backwards, the famous shooting tactic. The arrows fly through the air in lethal arcs, cutting through the sky. Like murderous swarms, the Romans have nowhere to take cover. The gaps opened by the cataphracts are transformed into corridors of death. Navarro and his team watch from their vehicles, stunned. They did not know. They could not have known, but while they were fighting an impossible war against the legion, another force was watching them. Chaos is absolute. Roman order collapses. There is only torn flesh, steel against steel, men shouting in Latin, in Persian, death. The shadow unit remains silent, exhausted, covered in dust and traces of war. There is no celebration, no victory, but neither is there defeat. The original mission, rapid reconnaissance in hostile territory, has been reduced to ashes. The world they knew, with its logic, its maps, and its certainties, has disappeared. Only the inexplicable remains. But one thing is certain, no one will ever understand what happened there. Navarro holds the steering wheel firmly, looks ahead, and lets out a brief laugh. I want to see the archaeologists' faces when they find a Roman skeleton with 556 holes in its thin chest In the passenger seat, with his face stained with dried blood, he smiles sideways. We're going to become legends, and maybe it's true because years later, when excavators discover fragments of Roman helmets alongside modern ammunition casings, when they find ancient bones with perforations impossible for weapons of that era, the only explanation will be dismissed as absurd, because for a moment, two worlds collided, the past and the future, and fought a war where neither gunpowder nor steel could erase the greatness of one or the brutality of the other. Now tell me, what would happen if this really happened? Could today's technology break the spirit of Rome, or would millennia-old discipline prevail even in the face of modernity? If you like this story and want to see more impossible confrontations like this one, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave us your opinion in the comments. And as always, may Mars guide you in battle.